Hello, welcome back to another tutorial with me, Jade at So Jealous. The last video that we did, we had done the chain and discussed the turning chain and why we use that, what that's useful for. So you should have learned how to do your slip stitch and foundation chain, and what we're now going to do today is we're going to learn the first stitch, which is the single crochet. Now that is single crochet in US terminology. If you were using UK terminology, this would be the double crochet. So for this stitch, we need to make sure we leave a turning chain of 1, and you'll often see this in patterns. They'll tell you to work in the second chain from the hook. So I am just pointing out here the second chain. This is the first chain. I'm working into the second chain. I've already checked that my tension is good. And what I'm going to be doing, working back along the foundation row, is I'm going to be working in between the middle of this V formation that we have in our foundation chain. And what you basically do is you go in from the middle and push out through the back, making sure that you just have that loop, the topmost loop of the stitch sitting over the top of your crochet hook. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our hook as we would usually, turn it and pull through. And then you'll see that I've adjusted my thumb and I'm now applying some tension, pulling down my chain in order so that when I wrap and pull through, my hook glides through quite comfortably. So I'm moving into the next chain. Again, I just want to pick up the top part of that chain. So I've gone into my cave, as I call it. I'm wrapping and coming out of the cave, and I've now got an additional loop on my hook. I'm then going to wrap again, and I'm going to pull through both loops on my hook. So I've moved over to the next stitch in my foundation chain. I'm going into the stitch, making sure I'm just picking up the top of it. I'm wrapping and pulling out. I'm creating some tension on my work and then wrapping and pulling through. And this is basically the motion. Now, sometimes you'll wrap and you'll pull through, and you'll wrap to then pull through both loops on the hook, and it won't go through in one clean motion. That does sometimes happen. I found it quite tricky recording this and doing single crochet. So you'll see in a moment that I kind of do this step where I go through one loop on my hook and then I'll go through the second one. So here I am doing this usually and normally, and then you'll start to see, I think here you can see there that I've gone through the first loop but not quite fluidly the second. And what I do is I take this little pause in between, and then I'll go and adjust my hook so I can go through both. And both of those are perfectly fine. As long as you end up through both loops, it doesn't really matter. But the motion that you're looking for, here we go, prime example of a professional, so-called, not able to carry her loop through. But essentially the motion that you want is into the cave, wrap, come out of the cave. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. You will then wrap and you will pull through both loops. Into the cave, wrap, out of the cave, wrap, pull through both loops. Into the cave, wrap, out of the cave, wrap, pull through both loops. Into the cave, wrap, out of the cave, wrap, pull through both loops. And you do that all the way to the end of your row. So we'll just do a couple more here, and then we'll talk about the turning chain again and working back along your foundation row. So this is my last stitch. I'm going to complete that as usual. And then because I'm going to be doing a US single crochet, UK double crochet back along, I need to do a turning chain. And the reason for that is if I don't, my work would start very narrow and then it would fan out and my work would be uneven. So that's the purpose of the turning chain. It acts as a ladder to get your next row at the correct height. So for single crochet, it's a turning chain of 1. Then I'm going to flip my work over. And again, what you'll see in almost all patterns is it will tell you to work in the second chain from the hook. So I miss that first V shape and I'm going into the second one. Now, working along your foundation chain, you've only been working in the top part of your V, and that is actually called the back loop. The stitch furthest away from you is called the back loop, and the part of the V that is closest to you is called the front loop. if you just see the words complete a single crochet, you're going to be going under both. So if I turn my work sideways, you can see there's a little hole there. And if I put my crochet hook through, I have both parts of the V on my crochet hook. And that's what we want to see when we're asked to do a standard single crochet. That's single crochet in US terminology. So I'm going underneath both parts of the stitch, and I am wrapping and pulling through and then wrapping. And that is how you complete a single crochet. I hope you found this useful.